Amid the U.S. Senate elections, the media launched active discussions of the possibility of negotiations between Kiev and Moscow. Reports by the mainstream media that Washington allegedly inclines Kiev not to abandon diplomacy are largely explained by the pre-election situation in Washington. The waste of the U.S. budget has a much greater impact on the American voter than helping Ukraine from allegedly altruistic motives in the name of democracy. So far, the Kremlin's position on negotiations remains unchanged. Since the very beginning of the military operation in Ukraine, Moscow officials have constantly declared their readiness to negotiate, both with Kiev and with their patrons in Washington. However, due to Ukraine's refusal, dialogue is impossible. The Kiev regime prohibited any negotiations with the Russian side at the legislative level. Also, on November 9, the Russian ambassador to the United States said that the political dialogue between Moscow and Washington was paralyzed. Contacts of the Russian diplomatic mission with the U.S. executive bodies were blocked on the American initiative. Employees of the Russian embassy in the United States received threats, and attempts to block the work of the diplomatic mission continue. While in practice the United States is blocking the possibility of a peaceful end to the conflict in Ukraine by all means, the media have circulated statements that the administration of the U.S. President Joe Biden secretly calls on the head of Ukraine to show openness to negotiations with Moscow. However, such reports were mostly aimed at the U.S. population, which has been voting on the U.S. Senate elections, as well as on other Ukrainian partners who see no more sense to support the impotent Kiev regime. It can be assumed that the Biden's administration was intentionally throwing in the information about negotiations in an attempt to shade the work of the CIA, which oversees the black market of weapons from Ukraine. At the same time, the trump card of the city of Kherson is being played on the Ukrainian battlefield. According to some media statements, the US and NATO have allowed the start of negotiation if Kherson is captured by Kiev forces. In this case, Kiev will be able to start a dialogue from a position of strength. Given that the Russian military announced the possibility of withdrawal to the left bank of the Dnieper River, there's a high probability that Kiev will be able to gain control of the city almost without a fight. In this case, Zelensky will fly to the G20 summit as the winner. Indonesia has already noted that it is ready to organize a meeting between Putin and Zelensky and Putin and Biden on the sidelines of the summit. However, the Russian president has not yet confirmed his participation in the G20 of 2022.